Why Stoic self-mastery matters. In a world that never stops talking, where every screen is shouting for your attention, every opinion demands your reaction, and every moment feels like a race, it's easy to lose yourself. Easy to feel scattered, overwhelmed, pulled in 10 directions at once and still unsure where your true north really is. But what if you didn't need to keep up with the noise? What if strength didn't mean running faster, but standing still? Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that has weathered centuries of change, quietly offers us an invitation, not to escape the world, but to return to something deeper, steadier. It reminds us that while we may not control what happens outside us, we always have the power to choose how we meet it. That power is what the Stoics call self-mastery. And in times like ours, it might just be the most radical power of all. Let me tell you what self-mastery really means. It's not about being rigid. It's not about perfection. It's not about pretending nothing touches you. No, self-mastery is about knowing your center so well that nothing can pull you off it for long. It's learning to meet the chaos of life with presence, not panic, with clarity, not confusion. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who led through plague and war, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't just ancient wisdom. It's an instruction for how to live today. Because let's be honest, we live in an attention economy. Everything is designed to steal your focus. Every algorithm, every headline, every notification is carefully engineered to provoke you. Fear, outrage, comparison. And if we're not careful, we spend our lives reacting instead of living. We become strangers to ourselves, constantly reaching outward instead of looking inward. That's why self-mastery matters. It's not about controlling the world. It's about mastering how you show up in it. Epictetus, once a slave who became a Stoic teacher, taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. And this mastery starts in small, invisible places. The moment you pause before reacting to someone's anger. The moment you choose focus over distraction. The moment you decide to live by principle, not popularity. In fact, in a world obsessed with external success, status, followers, applause, self-mastery quietly rebels. It says true freedom isn't in getting more. It's in needing less. It's in living in alignment with your values, whether or not anyone sees you. It's about waking up each day and knowing who you are, before the world tries to tell you who to be. And here's something important. Self-mastery is not a personality trait. It's a practice. It's something we build day by day through choices, through discipline, through reflection, through the commitment to become just a little wiser, a little calmer, a little more courageous than we were yesterday. Seneca, one of the great Stoic minds, believed that we can train ourselves to suffer less, not by avoiding pain, but by changing how we relate to it. He wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. That courage begins not with dramatic actions, but with silent decisions. To slow down, to say less, to listen more, to let go of things you can't control, to do what you said you'd do, to live with integrity when no one's watching. This isn't glamorous. It won't always get applause, but it will change you. And over time, it will change your life. So if you've ever felt like your mind is too loud, if you've ever felt like the world pulls you away from your deeper self, if you're tired of reacting, comparing, doubting, then maybe this is the moment to return to something ancient and powerful. To make a quiet decision, I will not be mastered by noise, by fear, or by impulse. I will become the master of myself. And that begins now. Throughout this video, we'll explore the core practices of Stoic self-mastery, tools that aren't about theory but about daily tangible strength. You'll learn how to focus your mind, discipline your habits, stay grounded in silence, and detach from the endless loop of praise and blame. These aren't abstract ideas. They're weapons for the mind, shields for the heart, and anchors for the soul. So stay with me, because the world will keep getting louder, but you can choose stillness, you can choose strength, you can choose to live by something deeper. Let's begin. Part 1. The power of focus. In a world that constantly fights for your attention, your ability to focus has quietly become your greatest superpower. Everywhere we look, notifications, opinions, advertisements, never-ending to-do lists, something or someone is pulling us away from what actually matters. But the truth is, your life becomes whatever you give your attention to. Moment by moment, what you focus on is what you feed, and what you feed grows. The Stoics knew this long before social media ever existed. They taught that attention is sacred. It's not something to throw around lightly. Epictetus reminded us, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. So when your focus is scattered, chasing likes, arguing with strangers, overanalyzing what others think, you slowly give away your inner peace, your energy, and even your freedom. But when you pull your attention back to your breath, back to your work, back to your principles, you begin to reclaim yourself. You stop being a victim of noise, and you become the author of your own inner state. Think about this. How often do you check your phone first thing in the morning and suddenly your mind is hijacked for the entire day? Or how often have you tried to do something meaningful, like reading, creating, or spending time with a loved one, only to find yourself distracted, multitasking, or mentally somewhere else? Now ask yourself, where would your life be 1 year from now if you focus deeply on what truly matters and let go of what doesn't? Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher king, lived surrounded by chaos, wars, politics, betrayals. Yet even then, he wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Despite being the most powerful man of his time, Marcus didn't chase distractions. He focused on his duties, his values, and the discipline of thought. Even in the midst of political storms, he reminded himself, and us, that we are not here to control the noise, but to control how we respond to it. In modern life, our distractions are subtler, but no less damaging. We are flooded with opinions, comparisons, and digital noise. Multitasking has become a badge of honor, even though studies show it dramatically reduces effectiveness and increases stress. We wear busyness like a crown, but deep down, we feel disconnected, split between many things and present to none. The Stoics invite us to do the opposite, to return to one thing at a time, to pour our full awareness into the present moment, to treat focus not as a productivity hack, but as a spiritual practice. Because when we are fully present, we are most alive. And when we are most alive, we act with clarity. So how do we train focus in a noisy world? First, start by creating quiet, not just around you, but within you. Spend 5 minutes each morning without checking your phone. Sit, breathe. Ask yourself, what truly matters today? Not what's urgent, not what's trending. What actually matters to your values, your growth, your peace? Second, limit the unnecessary. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. We can adapt that to, If it is not aligned, don't give it attention. You don't need to attend every argument. You don't need to answer every notification. You don't need to scroll endlessly into comparison and anxiety. Discipline your attention like a monk guards his temple. Not because you're avoiding life, but because you're choosing it. And third, return to your task. Whether it's writing, exercising, caring for a child, listening to someone, or simply walking, do that one thing with full presence. Let it be enough. Focus turns the ordinary into the sacred. It transforms daily actions into rituals of awareness. Focus, then, is not just about getting more done. It's about becoming more whole. It's the foundation of self-mastery because it gives you back your mind. It teaches you to live from the inside out, to act based on your values, not reactions. Seneca put it beautifully. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. If your attention is split in every direction, you lose depth. But when you gather your mind, when you become fully here, clarity emerges. And with clarity comes wisdom. So I invite you to reflect. Where is your attention flowing lately? And is that where you want your life to go? Because in the end, you are not what you say matters. You are what you consistently focus on. Let that focus be the first doorway to mastering yourself. Part 2, the discipline of daily habits. Self-mastery sounds like a grand, powerful idea, but in reality, it begins in the most ordinary places. The moment your alarm rings, the way you speak to yourself in the mirror, the decision to reach for your phone or your journal first thing in the morning. Because mastery is not an event. It's not one big heroic act. It's not something you suddenly achieve after a breakthrough moment. True self-mastery, as the Stoics saw it, is a quiet practice, repeated daily with intention. It's built in the spaces where no one is watching, when there's no applause to motivate you, just you, your thoughts, and your choices. Marcus Aurelius didn't become one of the greatest philosopher kings by chance. He began his days with reflection, a personal dialogue with his own soul. Before he stepped into the chaos of ruling an empire, he grounded himself with the question, what is in my control today? What kind of person will I choose to be? That's not just a morning routine, that's an inner discipline. And Seneca, known for his wisdom on time and clarity, also believed in the power of daily review. Each evening, he would examine how he lived. Where did I falter? Where did I succeed? What emotions ruled me today? His journal was not just ink on a scroll. It was a mirror for the soul. He wasn't journaling for productivity. He was journaling for self-awareness. That's the spirit of Stoicism, to use your daily habits as a sacred space for inner refinement. Epictetus gave us a powerful reminder. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. He didn't say wait until you feel ready. He didn't say compare yourself to someone else. He said begin, define your standard, then show up for it day by day. So let me ask you, what are the habits shaping your identity today? We often overestimate the power of big changes and underestimate the quiet influence of small, consistent actions. But your habits are carving your character, whether consciously or unconsciously. The things you repeat, the thoughts you entertain, the foods you eat, the words you speak, they all leave an imprint on your mind and soul. If you journal every morning, not to look productive, but to clear your mind, you begin to cultivate clarity. If you take 5 minutes each night to ask yourself, was I kind? Was I wise? You begin to develop emotional depth. If you replace 1 hour of mindless scrolling with a walk, a book, or silence, you are not just changing your routine. You are transforming your presence. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to start with an overhaul. Start small, stay consistent. That's the modern Stoic approach. You don't need 20 new habits. You just need one habit, done with commitment, that reminds you of who you want to become. Pick one: morning reflection, journaling, a silent walk, breathing before reacting, reviewing your day. Even making your bed mindfully can be a Stoic act, a reminder that order outside creates order inside. Because the truth is, excellence is not built in bursts. It's built in rhythm. It's built when no one sees, when you still choose to do what's right, what's honest, what's aligned. We live in a world that glorifies intensity, hustle, breakthroughs, 30-day transformations. But the Stoics were never interested in hype. They valued the slow, grounded work of becoming someone worthy of respect, especially from yourself. So if you want to be calm under pressure, train that calm daily. If you want to be less reactive, build in pauses during your day to reflect. If you want to stop letting emotions rule your behavior, create a ritual to reconnect with your values. Self-mastery is not just about willpower. It's about structure. It's about creating a lifestyle that makes good choices easier and distractions less tempting. And here's the good news. You don't need to wait for a perfect time to begin. You just need to begin. One moment, one habit, one small discipline. Over time, those small actions stack into a powerful identity. You no longer just act with discipline. You become a disciplined person. You embody clarity. You breathe wisdom. You radiate calm. Not because life is easy, but because you've trained your mind to respond, not react. That's the reward of daily discipline. It rewires who you are, one day at a time. So I leave you with this question. What is one habit you could start today that your future self will thank you for? Because in the end, it's not about perfection. It's about showing up again and again with integrity, with patience, with purpose. And that's where the path of self-mastery truly begins. Part 3, the strength of silence. There's a kind of power that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout over others. It doesn't rush to defend or impress. It doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room. That power is silence. In the eyes of the Stoics, silence was never a weakness. It was strength refined. It was clarity in motion. It was restraint with purpose. Seneca once wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." And what he meant wasn't about avoiding speech. It was about mastering the right moment to speak. In a world driven by reaction, silence becomes a rare and radical form of wisdom. Let me ask you something. How often do we speak out of impulse? How often do we answer to protect our pride, not our peace? Think back to the last time you were criticized, provoked, or misunderstood. Was your first instinct to react or to pause? The Stoics believe that silence is not simply the absence of noise. It's the presence of control. It's the ability to not let your ego do the talking, to resist the temptation of proving yourself when your peace is more valuable than being right. Seneca advised, before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Imagine what would happen if we filtered our speech this way. How many unnecessary conflicts, regrets, or misunderstandings would dissolve before they even began? But in today's world, silence is often misunderstood. We live in an age of constant commentary. Social media rewards speed and volume. We're taught to speak up, clap back, defend ourselves at all costs. But Stoicism teaches us something different. It reminds us that not every opinion needs a response. Not every battle is worth entering, and not every slight deserves our energy. When Marcus Aurelius journaled his thoughts late at night, ruling over the most powerful empire in the world, he didn't write about how to argue better. He wrote about how to understand better, how to pause, how to remain unaffected by what others said or did. He wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to turn this into a problem." That's the power of silence. It grants you space. It buys you time. It offers you clarity. Let's take a practical example. Conflict. Have you ever been in a heated discussion and said something you regretted moments later? It's almost universal. We say what we don't mean, just to win or to hurt back. But the Stoic way says, wait, breathe, delay your response. Because silence in the middle of chaos is not retreat, it's preparation. It's the mental shield that protects your dignity and your deeper intentions. It's not about suppression, it's about sovereignty. Silence doesn't mean passivity, it means strategy. It means choosing your words with care, your timing with wisdom, and your reactions with purpose. In fact, many of life's hardest moments don't require answers. They require presence. Sometimes being still with your thoughts is more healing than giving 100 explanations. And if you're wondering, how do I begin to cultivate this kind of silence in a noisy world? Start by observing. The next time you feel emotionally triggered, don't speak. Just notice. The silence between the emotion and the reaction, that's your training ground. Try journaling about it later, like Seneca did. Ask yourself, why did that moment hit me so hard? What did I want to prove? Was it about truth or ego? This practice builds emotional muscles, and over time you start realizing you don't need to argue to feel powerful. You don't need to be heard to feel valid. You don't need to win the conversation to walk away with self-respect intact. You become unshakable, not because you've silenced the world, but because you've mastered the noise within. And that's what the Stoics understood so deeply. That silence is the gateway to clarity. That behind every pause is a person choosing to live with inner strength, not outer noise. So here's a question to reflect on today. What would change in your life if you spoke only when your words were rooted in peace, not pride? Over time, you'll notice something extraordinary. The less you react, the more you respond. The less you explain, the more you understand. And the less you chase validation, the more grounded you become. Because true power, the kind that can't be taken away, is found in the quiet strength of knowing who you are, even when the world tries to pull you off center. That's the strength of silence. Part 4. Detachment from praise or blame. Let me ask you something simple, but powerful. Who are you when no one is watching? Not who you are at work, not who you are on social media, not even who you are when you're trying to impress someone, but who you are quietly, privately, when there's no applause, no likes, no judgment. Just you and your inner world. That's where real strength lives. The Stoics understood this long ago, that true confidence, true freedom, doesn't come from approval. It comes from detachment. Detachment from praise and detachment from blame. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, could have easily bathed in flattery. He ruled Rome. He was revered, respected, even worshipped. And yet in his private journal, he reminded himself not to be swayed by either praise or insult. He wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." In other words, praise is not a reward, and blame is not a punishment. Both are just noises outside of you. What matters is what you believe about them. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. We all want to be liked. We all want our efforts to be noticed, our goodness appreciated. There's nothing wrong with enjoying recognition. The problem is when we need it, when our peace, our identity, our worth become dependent on someone else's reaction. That's when we give away our power. Think about how much emotional energy we spend trying to manage people's opinions, trying to please, to perform, to avoid disappointment, to impress. And for what? Because in the end, the applause fades. The criticism passes. The only thing that stays is who you've chosen to be, regardless of either. The Stoics call this indifference to externals, not because nothing matters, but because not everything deserves to have authority over your emotional life. Here's a practical question to reflect on. What if your self-worth wasn't up for debate? What if you stopped basing how you feel on what others think? Imagine how free you'd be, how grounded, how clear, how powerful. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your principles than people's perceptions. It means you live by your values, not their reactions. And it means that whether they cheer or criticize, you stay centered, unmoved, aligned. Seneca put it beautifully. Praise in your own mind what is truly good and be satisfied with being the only one who knows it. That's real self-respect. Now, let's bring this down to earth. Maybe you're working hard at something, a business, a relationship, a dream, and no one's noticing. Or worse, people are doubting you, misunderstanding you, telling you it's not good enough. And that hurts, doesn't it? But the Stoic response is this: keep going anyway, because your progress isn't validated by noise. It's validated by effort, by alignment, by knowing that you're showing up in a way you can be proud of, even if no one claps. The applause may or may not come, but your integrity, that's entirely in your hands. So the next time someone praises you, say thank you, but don't build your identity around it. And when someone blames or criticizes you, pause, reflect, ask, is there truth in this? Can I learn from it? If yes, great, grow. If not, let it go. You don't need to carry what isn't yours. Over time, you start living differently. You stop chasing validation and start embodying your values. You stop over-explaining and start listening more deeply. You stop performing and start being. And that's when you become powerful in a way that can't be taken away. Because when your peace no longer depends on praise or blame, you're free. Free to think clearly. Free to act wisely. Free to rest, knowing that your worth isn't fluctuating with every opinion. That's the Stoic path. Not a life without emotion, but a life without emotional slavery. So here's your reflection for today. Who are you when no one's watching? And what would change in your life if that version of you, calm, clear, grounded, was the one you live from every day, no matter who applauds or criticizes? Because ultimately, the goal isn't to silence the world. It's to become so internally steady that the world's noise can no longer shake you. Part 5. Deep purpose over external success. Let me ask you something that most of us don't pause to ask. Are you chasing the life you really want, or just the one that looks impressive? In today's world, it's easy to confuse achievement with alignment. We scroll through highlight reels, we measure our days in numbers, likes, followers, salary, square footage, and we keep running. But running where? And why? The Stoics warned us about this centuries ago. Seneca, the Roman philosopher and statesman, said, "Success without virtue is empty." He wasn't condemning success. He was reminding us, if our success doesn't reflect who we are, if it's disconnected from our character, our values, our soul, then it's just decoration, not depth. You see, the Stoic path isn't against ambition, it's against blind ambition, because not all goals are worthy of your energy. Not all achievements bring you closer to meaning. Some of them just take you further from yourself. And the danger is this: we often don't realize we're chasing the wrong things until we're burned out, bitter, or empty. You might hit the target only to realize it wasn't worth aiming at. How many people do you know who made it? They got the job, the title, the house, the applause, but feel exhausted or disconnected inside. That's not success. That's misalignment. Now, here's a deeper question. Is what you're working so hard for aligned with what you value most? Not what your parents wanted, not what your peers admire, not what society applauds, what you value deep down. If the answer is yes, beautiful. Keep going, stay rooted. But if the answer is no, or even I'm not sure, then it's time to pause. Because fulfillment isn't found in chasing more. It's found in choosing what's meaningful. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." This means that if we don't know what truly matters to us, we'll spend our lives chasing storms. Always busy, always striving, but never landing anywhere solid. Modern life is full of those storms. Endless to-do lists, constant comparisons, hustle without reflection. We celebrate the grind, but we rarely stop to ask, why am I grinding in the first place? Burnout isn't just from working too hard. It often comes from working hard on the wrong thing, pursuing goals that don't resonate, saying yes to everything and everyone except yourself. But what if you chose a different path? What if you stopped asking, will this make me look successful? And started asking, will this make me feel whole? What if your definition of success wasn't borrowed, but built from the inside out? That's the Stoic way. To live with purpose, not performance. To make decisions not from pressure, but from clarity. To wake up each day and ask, what is the right thing for me to do? Not what will impress them. And here's the truth most people miss. When you live in alignment, you actually perform better. You work with more heart. You lead with more integrity. You create from a deeper place. And yes, external success often follows, but it's no longer the goal. It's the byproduct of living from your truth. Let me offer a personal reflection. The times in my life when I felt most at peace, most energized, and most alive were not the times when I was the most successful in the eyes of others. They were the times when I was walking in alignment, when what I believed, what I said, and what I did all matched. And that to me is real success. So here's a quiet challenge for you. Take a moment, today, tonight, sometime soon. Sit with this question. If no one could see what I achieved, but I had to live with how it felt, would I still choose this path? It's not easy to step away from status, but the reward is profound. Because when you start choosing meaning over metrics, you stop performing, you start living. And over time, you don't just feel more fulfilled, you become someone unshakable, someone rooted, someone who doesn't need constant applause to keep going, because now your motivation isn't external, it's internal. It comes from your values, your vision, your voice. That's what it means to walk the Stoic path, not with flashy outcomes, but with quiet strength. So today, instead of chasing another benchmark, try chasing a better question. Is this aligned with who I truly want to be? And if the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, have the courage to realign. Because the most meaningful kind of success is the kind no one sees, but you feel it every day. The Stoic Path is a daily practice. Here's something we often forget in the pursuit of change. Mastery, true mastery, isn't about grand moments or dramatic transformations. It's not a finish line. It's not a breakthrough. It's a rhythm, a quiet, steady commitment to showing up every single day. The Stoics knew this. They didn't see greatness as a burst of willpower. They saw it as a way of living, a discipline of the mind, a habit of the soul. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, didn't speak of mastering empires. He spoke of mastering himself. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. That's it. Be one. Not once, not occasionally, but again and again and again. We live in a world that worships attention, followers, fame, noise, speed. But the Stoic doesn't chase applause. They move differently, quietly, intentionally. Because to the Stoic, strength isn't loud. It's consistent. Wisdom isn't flashy. It's foundational. Every day you're given choices, not dramatic ones, but subtle ones. Do you respond with anger or patience? Do you speak from ego or empathy? Do you drift into distraction or return to what matters? These moments, these seemingly small decisions, shape who you are becoming. Because in truth, your character isn't formed in public. It's shaped in silence, in your thoughts, in your routines, in what you choose when no one's watching. That's why self-mastery is not a destination. It's a practice. Just like you wouldn't expect to be physically fit from one workout, you can't expect mental clarity or emotional resilience from a single decision. It's a daily dialogue with yourself, a return to center, a returning to what matters most. Think about it. What if, instead of chasing perfection, you committed to one powerful habit today? Just one. What if you took one Stoic idea and lived it out for real? Maybe it's the power of focus, protecting your attention like your life depends on it. Maybe it's emotional restraint, choosing not to react from impulse, but to pause and reflect. Or maybe it's practicing detachment, freeing yourself from the need to be liked, admired, or validated. What would change if you mastered just that? Would your mornings feel calmer? Would your relationships grow deeper? Would your sense of peace finally stop depending on things outside your control? Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality, and often it's not our circumstances that defeat us, but our habits of mind." So if we can train our mind the same way we train our body, with patience, repetition, and discipline, we open ourselves to a deeper kind of freedom. Not freedom from pain or challenge, but freedom within them. Freedom to respond, not react. Freedom to stay rooted, even in the storm. Freedom to live from within, rather than constantly reaching outward for worth. Let me tell you this. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more presence. More grounded human beings who live by principles, not pressure. More people who act with integrity even when no one is looking. That's what it means to walk the Stoic path. It's not glamorous. It won't always be easy, but it's deeply, quietly powerful. Because over time, you won't just act better. You'll become better, not for the sake of praise, not to prove anything, but because you've built a life that reflects your deepest values. So I'll leave you with one final question, not as a challenge, but as an invitation. What would your life look like if you mastered just one of these Stoic principles today? Not tomorrow, not in some future version of yourself, but right here, in this moment. The path is not out there. It's right beneath your feet. And the step you take today, that's the real beginning.